watch afterwards. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Gary Jordan, who plays Zasu in Lion King, who's recommended for this session. Delighted that you could come along, Gary, and give us your insight and your knowledge and talk about your experiences as a music theatre performer and voice actor and character actor and all these other amazing things that you have done. So thank you so much for coming along. Gary Jordan, everyone.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you for having me. So, I mean, my first thing I was going to do is like ask who wants to go into musical theatre, but I've done all that. So I want to ask you a question. What do you think is the main thing that you need to work in musical theatre, to have a successful career in musical theatre? I think we just unmute ourselves all the way through this, because I'll be having a chat to you I want it to be more conversational rather than me just sat here talking about my career, which I will tell you about, but that'll be boring. So
at length, yeah.
Let's have a natter at length. Yes. What do you think is going to be the main thing that you need to have a successful career in musical theatre?
I think passion and drive, because if you don't have any passion or drive, you're not going to get very far, really. Like you have to really love it. It's such a tough industry to work in, so you have to really love it.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head straight on, and you completely thrown me because I didn't think anybody would get that straight away. But yeah, it's passion. This is the first question I got asked on my first day of drama school. What do you think it takes? People said talent. Obviously, it takes talent. But passion is the main thing, and that's what's going to get you through. And to kind of explain a little bit more why that is the most important thing, I need to take you back to my teenage years when I was growing up in a little village called Emsworth, quite near where you guys are studying at the moment. I was obsessed. I'm not sure if it's a passion. I think I was just obsessed by the whole thing. I used to watch musicals, film musicals on TV. My mother was in the sort of local amateur dramatic society. I used to go along and see that and just dream of doing that, you know. I did a couple of the amateur stuff when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I loved it. But when I got to about 11, 12, I was old enough to go into the youth theatre, which would do like 2 musicals a year. And I thought this was the most amazing thing. And my sister had joined. I've got an older sister. She joined a couple of years before. And I tried to get in, but they turned me away. They said I was too young, and I was absolutely gutted. But as soon as I was old enough to get in, I went along for the audition, and I walked straight into this, got a place at this drama school, and walked straight in and got the part of Oliver in Oliver, which was their Christmas musical. And I was like, yeah, that'll do me fine. I'll play the title role. Great. And I loved it. And I just completely got the bug. Now, when we were in this youth theatre, they used to take little trips to London. Now, at the time, I was so young, and I didn't realize that actually I could make a career out of this. It felt a bit more like a hobby. Do you guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
By that? When you're younger, you don't think, you think you're going to have to work in an office. You think you're going to have to work, because so many people say to you, it's a really tough business. Yeah, it's a tough business, but if you've got that passion, then you're going to succeed. You're not going to give up. People will say to you all the time, oh, there's so many knockbacks. All the auditions that you go to, there's more auditions that you're not going to book the job than there is the ones that you do book the job. But it's that passion that gets you through. Kyla, let's go to Kyla. If you could play any role in musical theatre right now, what would it be? If you could just walk in tomorrow.
I think Christine Daae.
Christine Daae, how's your soprano voice?
It's getting there. See, before I started training this year, I thought I was a mezzo, so I would have said like Eponine or Alphaba, but I was really wrong. And then like coming here, I realised that I've got like actually quite a high soprano range that I just hadn't unlocked. And then I've always Phantom. Phantom was the first musical I was obsessed with when I was like 7, which I know is a bit weird. So I've
Not at all.
so I've always like loved Phantom, and like I always wanted to be Christine when I was younger, and I was like, oh no, I couldn't do that. I don't have a high enough voice, but now I do. So yeah, it'd be that.
That's really interesting. You're much more sensible than I was at that age. When I was that age, I wanted to play Marius in Les Mis. I wanted to play Chris in Miss Saigon. I wanted to play all the kind of big romantic leads, really. And I remember it was our 3rd year of drama school, Guildford School of Acting I went to. It was our 3rd year. And a few of us, I think somebody from Cameron McIntosh's office had come to see one of our final shows. And a few of us got invited to a private audition for the next cast of Les Miserables in the West End. And we were like, I'd seen the show when I was 11 or 12 or something. And that's the point that I realized that this is what I wanted to do. And I realized that I could make a career out of it, you know. But I wanted to play the Mariuses, I wanted to play the Chris's, and et cetera, et cetera. So I went along to the first audition. We sang our own choice of song to start with, and they recalled some of us back. And of course, we were still sort of at the end of our 3rd year at college at this point. So the people that didn't get called back were a bit like, oh God. And the people that did get called back were secretly sort of celebrating, you know. But I remember emails weren't so common as they are nowadays. And through the post, I get some songs and bits of stuff for the role of Marius. And I was like, this is it. This is absolutely it. I'm going to be playing Marius. All my dreams come true. Soon as, I mean, how stupid was I at the time? But that was my thought. Do you know what I mean? So I got there. I was so nervous, literally like shaking like a leaf. The nerves never get any easier, by the way, in auditions. They never get any easier. Just say that. I stood there and I was like, okay, I'm going to sing Empty Chairs, Empty Tables in front of Cameron McIntosh, in front of all these, you know, wonderful people. And what I'd done, because at the time I thought it was an obsession, really, but it's actually passion. What I'd done, I'd researched every single person who'd ever played that role. I'd researched how they sang the role, thinking, what do they want? What do they want me to be, if you know what I mean? So I walked in and I think I went, there's a grief that can't be spoken. Put so much vibrato in it that at the end of it, they stopped me after about 3 lines, obviously, and they said, why are you singing like that? I said, because that's how Marius sounds like. And they were like, right, okay, stop there. I look back on it and I cringe, but they said, stop there. They said, well, this song is all about, it's an inner monologue that he's really singing it to himself. And I didn't understand that at the time. I just thought the sounds were what they wanted. You know, hopefully I looked right at the time, which I didn't, et cetera, et cetera. So they asked me to start again, and they said, just pull it right back. Just pull it right back. Be natural. Be really, really natural with it. I said, okay, yeah, I can do that. And I went, there's a grief that can't be spoken there. Okay, thanks very much. That's all we need to see. And I walked out going, what did I do wrong? You know, I didn't even get to the, oh, my friends, John. I didn't even get to that bit. I didn't even get to the money note. I was like, I'm sure if they can hear me singing that, they would be like, yep, he's our next Marius, definitely. Obviously, I didn't get it. What did I do wrong? You tell me.
Didn't take their direction.
Yeah,
didn't take the direction, but in my head I knew exactly. I thought that's exactly what they wanted. So again, what did I do wrong?
You were copying someone, maybe.
Yeah, copying someone.
I was going to say you were trying to be someone else that had already done it. You weren't trying to bring your own thing to the character.
That is exactly right. And do you know what? It took me quite a while to realize, yes, you can have an essence of that character. You should, when you go into an audition, you should know that character inside out and backwards. You know, it doesn't matter how somebody else has played it, but they're looking for something. Yes, they're looking for the character. They're looking for a certain tone of voice, but actually they're looking for the way that you bring. They're looking to what you bring to the character. So on that note, out of the, I say this tentatively, there's 3 sort of main things that you need, obviously, for musical theatre. You've got to be a good singer, you've got to be a good dancer, you've got to be a good actor. Which one is the main thing that you need for musical theatre?
Acting.
Absolutely, bang. Oh God, somebody's doing something right at University of Winchester. You know all the answers. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody said to me once, okay, even if you were an incredible dancer, if you can't act and you can't put that acting into the dance, it just becomes movement. It's not dancing, it's just movement, because you're not telling the story of what the choreographer is trying to, you know, trying to get across. It's the same with singing as well. You can have the most incredible singing voice, but if you can't act the song and put the song across, you're done. Do you know what I mean? It just becomes samey, it becomes a little bit boring. So my first tip and trick of it, concentrate on the acting. Hi, Georgina. Welcome. Concentrate on the acting. There's the first tip. Really, you have to really know, even if you're singing a song, what that character is feeling at that moment, what that character is trying to say, whether it is that inner monologue or whether it's having an argument with somebody through song. You know, you get it that all in Les Miserables. Let's have a little chat to Georgina. Hi, Georgina.
No, sorry I was late. I forgot when it was on.
Well, I mean, tip 2, never be late. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. How are you doing? Are you doing the musical theatre course at Winchester?
I am, yes, I'm first year.
Fantastic. How are you finding it?
I'm good, thank you, yeah.
Good. So I'm going to ask the same question that I asked Kyla earlier. If there was one role in musical theatre that you were desperate to play, what would it be? If you could go in tomorrow and say, right, I'm doing it, what role would it be?
Oh, I feel like this is a bit basic, but Christine in Phantom.
Oh,
everyone probably says that.
You've got another. No, they don't actually. It's normally your Elphabas and your Eponines, but Christine. Okay, okay. What would you do to prepare for your audition for Christine?
Make sure I had something that I thought, like a song that captured the essence of the character. Make sure I knew it really well. Yeah. Make sure I was prepared with whatever brief they'd given me, and make sure I was on time.
Nice. Okay, how would you research?
I'd go and make sure I had a really good grasp of the story, and also how different people have interpreted it, because it's changed over the years as different things have also changed in the industry and in society and stuff.
Absolutely, that's a really good point, actually, how that character has developed over the years. I'm talking earlier about my first audition for Marius, and actually Marius is an extraordinarily different character than it was back then. You know, it's evolved so much over the years. It's really more of there's a slight rock edge now to all of the characters in Les Miserables that they never had. So that's a really good idea, to go back and look at how that character has evolved. But the most important thing, obviously, as Becky pointed out earlier, you don't want to copy what anybody else has done. You need to bring your own little thing to it. So I'm going to go back now to a bit of career talk. Stay with me. So after drama school, and I love drama school, I don't know if anybody, it's probably going back to the, 70s or something, there was a TV program on called Fame. And they were all at drama school. They danced on tables, they sang down the street, and there I was suddenly at drama school, realizing that when I watched Fame as a kid, I was probably 5 or 6, and I just stared at the screen going, oh, this is the most amazing thing. They're all singing and they're all dancing and they're all having this completely amazing time. And I suddenly realized that passion that you pointed out, Kyla, has always been there with me. It was always in my blood, and anything that I watched that had some sort of musical theatre reference to it, I was literally obsessed with everything. There I was at drama school. So I come out of drama school. Friends of mine were going into your Les Mises, friends of mine were going into Miss Saigon, friends of mine. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job for about a year out of drama school. And I thought, what is going on, you know? Finally, I got put up for there was a kids TV show back then called Play Days. Some people called it the Play Bus. And do you remember it, Neil? And they were doing a live stage version.
I did some work with the lady who played I can't remember what her name is. The lady who plays the little girl in Play Bus a few years ago. What's her name? I'll remember. Anyway, carry on.
Peggy Patch. So they were doing this live stage show, and I got an audition for a character called Mr. TikTok, who wasn't in the TV program. So I had no basis. I couldn't research this character. I couldn't copy anybody else. I had to, as you say, just bring some of myself into it and hope that's what they wanted. And it was the first job that I booked, because luckily it was what they wanted, and I just did what I would have done with it. And there's a good tip. Do what you would do with the character, not what anybody else would do, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for something slightly different to the person that goes in and sings On My Own, exactly the same as the person that's just gone in before them. Do you know what I mean? Or the 85th person of the day that sings The Wizard and I from Wicked. You know, they're looking for that, something just slightly different. So with this job, with this Playdays job, we did, oh, we got somebody else. Hello. Hi, Gloria. How you doing?
I'm okay, thanks.
Good. Can I ask, are you doing the musical theatre course at Winchester?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm a second year.
Second year. Ah, fantastic. How are you finding it?
Difficult at the moment, but great overall.
Yeah. Good. We're just we're basically talking about auditions and what you should do to prepare for an audition. So I'm going to ask you the same question as I've asked everyone else. Let's see if we get another Christine. If there was any character in musical theatre that you'd love to play right now, who would it be?
Mad Hatter in Wonderland.
Well, why do you say that? Why do you say that? Why not Elphaba? Why not Eponine? Why not?
Well, I mean, Elphaba is one of my favourite characters, and I'd love to play her at some point. But I feel like, first of all, I think Wicked is probably quite a difficult show to audition for. And then also, I'm just fascinated with Wonderland, and I'm fascinated with a good villain, and I love the Mad Hatter so much, and she's got 2 of the most incredible songs I've ever heard. And she's just someone who's just slightly out of my comfort zone, so someone I'd absolutely want to work with. And yeah,
that's really interesting.
She feels so gender non-conforming to me as well. So
okay, what draws you towards the villains more than the roles that everyone wants to play?
It's not just more towards the villains. I like to play people, like I like to play non-villains as well. Another character I'd love to play is Emma in The Prom.
Okay.
But what draws me towards them usually is that well, people tell me I'm intimidating.
That feels rather pointed, Gloria. Thank you.
Is she right? Is she right, everyone else?
They are kind of right. Love you, Gloria.
Yeah, Becky told me I'm intimidating.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But yeah, so that's one thing. And then just in general, I think they're fascinating. Sometimes I feel like villains are very misunderstood, which I think is what they were trying to do with Wicked, because in Wizard of Oz, obviously Elphaba is the villain, and then in Wicked, she's this misunderstood character who just tries to fight for what she believes in. But I think that's a general thing with villains. Sometimes they're just pure evil, but sometimes they have a different side to them, and I think that gives them way more depth than the seemingly perfect main character. And also, they don't usually have this romance story, this heteronormative romance story that they have to end up with someone in the end. They're just kind of standing on their own, and I really like that.
That's brilliant. I think it's really brilliant that you know exactly what you want to do, and it's not conforming to the stereotypes of things that everybody wants to do. I think that's an amazing thing. I just started talking about when I was coming out of drama school, and I wanted to play the Mariuses. I wanted to play the love interest. I wanted to play this, and I thought that was going to be the rest of my career, playing the, you know, the handsome prince role, and etc., which probably you've got until about 22, 23 in this business before you need to go off on a tangent, you know, to play those kind of roles with the romantic storylines and stuff like that. But very soon, I think I realized that actually that kind of wasn't what I wanted to do. I got onto a cruise ship. When I was at college, I'd gone to see, it was a new production at the time, I'd gone to see Grease in the West End. And it was just the most amazing thing. I was like, I have to be in that show. I've got to be in that show. And I've got to play one particular role. It was a role called Doody, who's one of the T-Birds. He is in the film, but in the stage show, he has a much bigger role. He's got a couple of songs to sing. He's very sweet, very lovable, very cute, very boring, really. But at the time, it was like, I've got to play this role. I have to play this role. So the second job that I booked was a cruise ship. I was young enough then. I didn't have any ties. It was a 9-month contract. Can't imagine it now, but yes, I did it. And we did 15 different musicals. So literally every night would be a different musical. You'd rehearse them all in London. You'd do it like 15 weeks rehearsal, 1 week per musical. And you'd get on the ship, different musical every single night. What it did do was gave me a lot of versatility. And every single musical that I did on that ship, we did things like high society. So I'd research and get slightly obsessed with Cole Porter's music or other musicals and stuff that he'd written. And we did like a cabaret Bond show, and I suddenly realized that I absolutely loved all the music in James Bond and all that kind of stuff. Literally became obsessed with every single musical that we did. But the reason I was so excited was because they were doing a production of Grease. One of the musicals we did was Grease, and I was like, here it is. I'm going to play Doody. This is amazing. Blah, 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 blah. So we went along, and each week we got cast in certain roles and this and the other. I got the lead role in Half a Sixpence, but that's not the one I really wanted. I wanted Doody in Grease. This was my time to shine. And they gave me Eugene. They gave me the role of Eugene, the geek, who, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this as we're on YouTube, but comedy twat role. Let's just say that. And I was like, how dare you give me the comedy twat role? And I was like, right, you give me the comedy role, I am going to play it completely over the top and for laughs and this, and I'm gonna have a good time doing it myself. During the rehearsals for this production of Grease, we had a visit from the director, the original director of the West End musical Grease that I'd seen and loved so much. He came in and he watched the rehearsal. I sat there gutted. I was like, if only they had given me Doody, I can show him exactly what I can do, you know. Unbeknownst to me, and I didn't know this until many years afterwards, he turned round to the cruise ship director, said, who's that boy? Who is that boy? And here comes my second tip. You never know who's watching. You never ever know who's watching. There could be somebody there that's going to give you a job in 8 years' time. Do you know what I mean? There could be somebody there that's going to give you a job next year. You just never know. So I went and I did this cruise ship. I had a fantastic time. And I came back, and all of a sudden there was an audition for Grease. I'm like, fantastic. I finally get to play Doody. This is amazing. So guess what? At the time, I thought it was for the tour. I thought it was for the UK tour. And when I got the phone call to be offered the job, they said, okay, you've been offered the role of Eugene. I was like, okay, well, it's a job, and I've always wanted to do that musical. So I'm absolutely thrilled with that, you know. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go on tour. I'm going to get a new suitcase, going to get this, that, and the other. My agent turned around and said, like a couple of weeks later, I said, so where does the tour start? And he said, it's not a tour. It's at the Victoria Palace in the West End. I went, what? like where Hamilton's on now. I was like, what? And he said, yeah. So I booked my first West End job. And he said, have we talked about understudies at all? I said, no, I didn't really know anything about that, blah, blah, blah. He said, oh, they've come back and they want you to be the first cover Doody in Greece, in the West End. I was like, what? This is like going back to 2003. This was a long time when I was still young enough to play it. Actually ended up playing the role of Doody more than I did Eugene. The guy that was playing Doody had some vocal issues going on, and I was on all the time. So I finally got my dream, but only because somebody had seen me play Eugene, the role that I didn't want to see, and they'd remembered me and they'd heard me sing Magic Changes, his big song, in the audition, and they decided that I would be the best person to do that first cover Doody. So you never know who is watching at any point.
Harry, can I ask you a question about that? Yeah, because that really resonates with me, because one of the auditions I did when I was first trying to be a classical string player, I had a couple of absolute car crash auditions, and I thought, this isn't for me, and then I went to another audition with a fantastic young orchestra called South Bank Symphonia, and I had this mindset that's like, I don't care, I'm not gonna get it, I'm not gonna worry. So I just went in like I didn't give a monkey's, and just like almost like as a, you know, a kind of to the world in my kind of audition, and they offered me a place, and if I hadn't had that mindset, I absolutely wouldn't have got that place because the competition was so high. And I'm wondering if your way you played Eugene, which caught people's eye, that was part that there's something in that's similar to our experience. Is there anything of that you could say in your career?
Absolutely. I mean, that is a kind of recurring theme all the way through, really. The way that I played Eugene was slightly different because it wasn't the role that I wanted to play at the time. Do you know what I mean? So I would just give my own spin on it, and I'd have good fun doing it. And I think that's really important as well. If you're not having fun, if you're auditioning for a role, but you're like, oh God, this is not really me, but I'm just gonna work really hard. And again, like I was talking about earlier, try and get what they want. You need to give them what you want to give to it. And they will decide whether that's right for what they want or not. Yeah, and as I said earlier, you do get constant rejections the whole time. The passion keeps you going, and you literally, one of my favorite phrases is pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again, because that's something very prevalent within the business. But let's go back a little. So I came out of Greece. I did two years in Greece, mainly playing my dream role, thankfully. And then it kind of dried up a little. I was like, I just couldn't, I was up for things like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I got into the panto scene. And finally I started playing your Prince Charming roles. I played Aladdin in panto, I played Jack in Jack and the Beanstalk. I finally played your sort of hero roles, and I was loving it until somebody suggested that I played Dandini in a production of Cinderella. Now, for those of you that know the pantomime production of Cinderella, he's kind of a cross between the prince and the comedy role. So it does have that slight royalness to it, you know, the very straight back. He swaps places with Prince Charming during the show, so it was kind of a bit like playing you romantically, but there was also a lot of comedy in it as well, and I found that I loved that more. So Gloria, having knowing exactly what you want to do, and at your age is just so brilliant. Because there's so many girls out there, as you say, that do want to play your Elphabas, that do want to play, but you've got the passion. If you do want to play Christine and you've got the passion, you will probably get there because you'll work really, really hard to get there. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying you should ground yourself and not work hard to get roles that you really want to play. I'm not saying that, but I think you need to be realistic with yourself right now, like right at the beginning of your careers. Yeah, do you know what I mean by that? And if there's something like making people laugh, or perhaps you can juggle, I don't know. Perhaps we'll talk about this a bit later on. If you like playing with puppets, like I used to when I was a kid, use that as well. And in your own head, think, okay, this is where I want to get to. This is the sort of roles I want to be playing, but this is what I need to do to put myself into that character, rather than I need to nail that top C, otherwise I'm never going to play Christine. You know, think about the stuff that works for you and what you can bring to it, because the more you bring of yourself, the more natural it's going to be, and the more your acting is going to be so much better because you're drawing from your own experiences. Yeah. Gloria, did you have a question?
Yeah. So something that I haven't been able to find out really is, is it possible to audition specifically for an understudy role?
Usually not. Okay. But you'll find that all the shows, especially the long-running shows, the same character or the same track that you do in the show, if you're doing an ensemble track, then that ensemble track is the one that understudies that role. Like Eugene in Greece normally understudies Doody because it's a similar role. You know what I mean? So not actually auditioning for the understudy straight off, but if you do your research and you look into it, you can find out that actually that one is the one that understudies that one, and that's the one that I want to be. And then you can research towards more that. Okay. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I was thinking because in the North American national tour of Mean Girls, English Bernard understudied Regina, Katie, and Janice. Okay. And that is also something I want to do. I'd love to be Mean Girls, but I wouldn't want to be one role. I would want to be the three and understudy them.
Right.
If that makes any sense, that'd be so cool. So I was interested if I could like specifically audition for that, or if I'd have to audition for like Janice and then see what happens.
I think, I mean, obviously with every audition you go in, you take your own music to start with. If you can take some music that perhaps encapsulates all three characters, then, they will be the ones that look at you and they'll go, do you know what? She's not right for that role, but wouldn't she be brilliant at understudying all three of them, kind of thing. You can show them so easily what you can do. I remember I got an audition through my agent. They phoned me up and they said, okay, we've got you an audition for Little Shop of Horrors. I love Little Shop of Horrors. It's one of my favorites. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. She went, yeah. She said, you're up for Wino 2. I was like, sorry? Up for Wino 2? I said to her, and this is an agent that I don't have anymore. I said, are they not looking for a Seymour? And she said, well, yes, but you've got to start somewhere. Okay, fair enough. I'll go to that audition. So I went to the audition. I wore a tank top. I wore glasses. I sang my own song that sounded very much like all of Seymour's songs. And I sang about 3 or 4 lines of it. And they said, stop there. I can't believe you're down for Wino 2. They said, listen, in about 3 weeks' time, we're going to do our finals for Seymour and Audrey. So we don't need to see you until then, but come back, we'll put you straight into the finals for Seymour. I was like, okay. So in a way, I knew what I could do. I knew my worth, and I knew certainly at that point, with the comedy side coming into it as well, and also getting to play your romantic lead, but it's a slightly different one. He's another comedy twat character. Yeah. So I knew that that's exactly where I fitted, and I kind of, let's say, bent their ideas about what they were actually seeing me for in the first place. You know what I mean? So it is possible. It is possible if you can change their minds about what they're seeing you for, if you do it very cleverly. Let's go on. We're talking about, you never know about people, you never know who's going to be watching. You never know, all the people that you meet along the way, they might be somebody that gives you a job in the future, this, that, and the other. So I mentioned earlier, for those that were here, a show called Play Days that I did based on a kids TV program. I met a really good friend of mine on that job. She was one of the stage management. Her name was Jane. She was going out with a guy called Tony, who was working at the BBC at the time. I think he was a runner. I think, you know, he wasn't particularly high up in the BBC, but he worked there, and we all hang out together, and we all had a good time. We remained friends for years and years. So I think going back to 2009, was it? My career took a massive turn. Tony was now one of the executive producers at CBeebies, the children's channel. And they were doing this big music program, this new music program about a group of monkeys that lived on an island and played their guitars and their drums, and they did all this kind of stuff. It sounded really exciting. It was going to be the next Tweenies kind of thing, you know. So they were looking for people to voice these characters. They'd been looking for weeks for this one character. They knew who else they wanted. There was 4 main characters in it. They'd been looking for weeks, and they just couldn't find it. They looked at musical theatre people. They looked at, because they needed the character to be able to sing. They looked at specific voiceover artists who have the energy to perform kids TV character stuff. I'd never voiced anything in my life. I'd never done any voiceover work at all. So I was a bit like, okay. Tony, the executive producer, went home to his wife, Jane. They were married by this point. And he said, we're just never going to find it. He said, every single person we get in, we record them, we send them off to BBC Worldwide, and BBC Worldwide say, no, it's a nightmare. So Jane turns around and says, well, what do you need? And he said, well, we need somebody with a light voice who can play a young orangutan, but he's got to be a little bit sort of rocky as well. He's got to have a good voice, this, that, and the other. And Jane turned around and said, why on earth have you not got Gary Jordan in? He said, oh, Gary Jordan. Oh my God. So straight on the phone to his peers, said, right, get Gary Jordan in. Let's see him next week. I know that he's available. Let's give it a go. Highest paid job of my career, gotta say, was Zingzillas, it was called. And I voiced the character of Tang. And I also voiced the character of Mr. Granite, who was a big stone standing head. Kyla's kind of smiling. She watched it, didn't she?
I saw it like once. I know what you're on about.
Did you? You know what I'm on about. Yeah.
I know what you're on about as well, and it makes me weirdly happy that I now know who you are in that.
Really? Yeah, I was the ginger monkey Tang in that one.
I used to love that program.
Did you? We had such fun. And that was 4 years of doing that, and it kind of took me out of musical theatre for a while. But my obsessive personality then was onto kids TV. Right, I want to be a kids TV presenter. I want to do other children's TV shows. I want to do... Oh, hello.
Yeah.
So that was the monkey that I played in that one. It was the most exciting time ever doing that job. We filmed at Pinewood Studios, massive film studios. You'd be filming Zingzillas there. They'd be filming Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows just next door. It was insane. It was insane. Anybody tells you this business is not glamorous is lying. Although I have been to some very unglamorous theatres and places and performed, etc. But that was extremely exciting. And one of the things that I had to do, which is a skill I never ever thought that I'd be into, was puppetry. So we would go in and we would record the voices, we'd record the dialogue, we'd record the songs for a week. And then we go for a week into the studio. Somebody obviously would get dressed up as our characters. I wasn't inside the costume, couldn't do that. Because they were acrobats and, very, very good dancers and stuff like that. But the characters that we'd voiced, they would play it back on the recording. And we'd sat there with 2 joysticks and we'd have to control their faces. So all of a sudden I was thrown into puppetry, in a way, animatronic puppetry. And I sat there, I remember going to the workshop where they were making these incredible heads. And I mean, the range of expressions on their faces were insane. You know, the mouth would not only open, like some of them, they just do that, don't they? No, it would open, it would smile, it would do ooh shapes. You know, the eyebrows would go up and down, and all controlled by these joysticks, 2 joysticks with like 4 buttons on each. So you had to work out which button it was, which way to turn the eyes, when to blink, when to this, that, and the other. And for 4 years, I did this, and I learned so much about puppetry. Guess what? I became a little bit obsessed about puppetry. I keep saying obsession, you know, I mean passion. But my point of this story is there's certain skills that are going to come along, and you should take them with both hands, like those joysticks. You should take them with both hands and see if that's the sort of thing that you like, you know, because that could really, really help you later on, as it did. Finished Zingzillas after 4 years, even though I think it's still on telly. Creepy. And went into a show called Avenue Q, which is all about puppets. And getting the role of Avenue Q, I knew one of the people on the panel. It wasn't the one in the West End. They'd just taken it off the West End, and a producer called Bill Kenwright put it into his theatre in Windsor. And they basically got all the sets and the costumes and the puppets over from the, you know, from the production. But he'd chosen a director who I happened to know. And the director turned around to me and he said, would you mind coming in? I said, I'll throw you a little bit of money, but would you mind coming in and just reading in for, like, it was at the final audition stage of all the sort of lead characters. And he said, would you mind coming in and just reading with them? Because I need somebody who's got quite a cartoony voice, really, to get the right reactions, you know, out of them. So yeah, absolutely no problem. So we got to the end of the day, and I'd been reading in for all the other characters, and the director turned around to me and said, "Can you just sing a bit of the opening song?" What? He said, "You know the first bit that, like, the lead character Princeton does. Can you just sing a bit?" Like, yeah, sang a bit. He said, "Do you want the part?" I went, "Yes, please." So another dream role that was just born out of me coming. This happens so much, that the old adage of "it's not what you know, it's who you know," it happens all the time. So another tip: be lovely to absolutely everybody that you meet. Be friendly, etc. Because that's another thing. The people in the auditions are not only looking at your talent, they're not only looking at whether you're right for the role, they want to see whether you're going to fit in to the company. They want to see if you're going to be a good laugh. They want to see, you know, they're also matching you up with people that are going to play opposite you. But if that person seems to have a similar sense of humor to you, then you know, you're more likely to get this. The hardest thing about doing that in auditions and actually showing your personality as well is the fact that you're so nervous. Has anybody ever been to an audition for anything? Becky, what was yours?
I've done a few. So I've auditioned for choirs. I auditioned for an Amdram production of Crybaby last year.
Okay.
I did get in, which was really cool.
Yes, of course you did. How did you feel doing the auditions? Were you nervous?
I was terrified because that was actually my first experience of musical theatre.
Right, okay.
Because I'm a choral singer by training.
Right.
And I wanted to get more into it because I've always loved musicals. So I went along. Everyone else had already been cast. I got there a little bit late. I was just in the chorus, and that was fine. I was just being cast for whether I was a drape or a square. Not a problem. And I went in there, and I was like, stood up. It's like, I don't really know what I'm doing, actually, because I've never done this before in my life.
Was that the nerves? Did you actually say that? Physically say that?
I did actually, yeah.
You did. And do you think it was the nerves that? I mean, you got the role anyway, but
yeah. I think so, probably.
Yeah.
It was terrifying, but I really enjoyed it, so I would do it again.
What about you, Sophia? You ever auditioned for anything?
Yeah, I've auditioned for some series here in Spain.
How did that go?
Actually really good. Like the first one, I was so nervous I couldn't even talk, and I was like, I think I was 14, and they found that really cute that I got the role just because of that.
Right, fair enough. Gloria, what about you?
Yeah, so I've auditioned for a few things, and I don't know, it's all very different experiences because I've auditioned for a school production of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay.
And I was 13 at the time, and I auditioned for Mary, which I obviously didn't get because someone who was 18 got married.
Fair enough, but aspirations and all that.
Yeah, it taught me something because I did talk back at the director and he didn't like that, and then I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Right.
But I also, I don't know, I found for me that sometimes I don't really get nervous at the audition itself, but my brain does something that makes me lose my voice.
Right.
So I've gone to several auditions, choir auditions and musical auditions, having to say like, I will hit the notes, but this is not what I usually sound like. I don't know where my voice went, but this has happened several times, unfortunately. And I think just my brain does something, even though I don't feel the nerves.
Yeah.
My voice just disappears.
Okay, so you're not feeling the nerves, but actually that is a nervous reaction. Really, we all know when you get nervous, your throat starts closing up, and you won't be able to hit those high notes. You won't be able to sing as well as you did. That is definitely a nerves thing, and that's definitely something to work on. You what? Sorry.
I'd rather feel the nerves, so I could work around that. I'd rather have my voice be there.
Fair enough. There's, I think a lot of people will tell you this anyway. The moment you go into an audition and you say, "I've got a bit of a cold, I've got a bit of a sore throat, I'm not quite on it today," is the day that they go, whatever. You're making excuses. Do you know what I mean? You cannot do that. If you go in and you know that you're not right for that role, and you kind of go, "I've got a bit of a sore throat, but I can normally sing the role absolutely fine," they're probably going to label you as a liar. So they're just trying to get out of this. Do you know what I mean? So never say that. But the way to deal with the nerves, and the nerves are always there, whether you feel the nerves or not, whether it closes up your throat or not, which often it does. The way to deal with that is to just keep remembering something that we talked about earlier, that it doesn't matter. They want to see you. They don't want to see Christine. They don't want to see Alphabet. They don't want to see the Mad Hatter. They want to see what you bring to it. And once you realize that, and actually they're all on your side, they're not sat there judging you. They want you to do well. They really, really want you to do well. They want you to be the best person they found that day. So you might as well go in and just be yourself, because you might be that thing that they're looking for. Do you get what I mean? And that's certainly the way that I try and get over the nerves. Yes, inside I'm still shaking like a leaf. But I just kind of realize, okay, they're people that love this industry as much as I do, and they want this to work. And they've seen me for a reason. I don't get seen for every single show that's casting at all. They see you for a reason. It could be you might look right, or you've done other roles in the past that are fairly similar to the role that they're looking for. They might know you. They might have seen you in something else, So they're on your side, and they're just trying to get the best people possible, and you're just trying to show the best of what you can do. And if you have that in your brain, that's kind of how you handle the nerves. Obviously sometimes you'll blurt out something and you'll walk out of the audition and go, "Oh, why did I say that? I sounded stupid. Like, they're gonna hate me. That's part and parcel of it. After the audition is the worst time. The audition will last 6-7 minutes, depending on, you know, if it's a singing call, if it's an acting call, whatever. It won't last very long. And it's afterwards that it hits you, because it's then the wait. It's then the wait to be validated in what you do and what you've done, if that makes sense. You want to know if you've got that recall. And sometimes it can last for a week. You know, when I got Zingzilla's, the kids' TV show, I didn't hear for 3 months if I got the job or not. But the only reason is because it went round, it had to go around absolutely everybody. It went around CBeebies, it went around all the executive producers, it went around all the directors. You know, my tape that they'd recorded in the audition went off to BBC Worldwide, went off to other companies, and it was a big, big decision, and it took a long time to get that. You can imagine 3 months of waiting to hear whether you've got a job that you really, really want or not. Yeah. Anyway, has anyone done any pantos? No? Okay, we'll skip that.
I have. Sorry,
You have?
Yeah, I've done quite a few.
Yeah.
So where I live back home, I'm at uni at the moment. I'm part of a group that does like a yearly panto. So I think I've done 8 with them.
Okay.
I've done ensemble in all but one. But so last year, what year is it? 2021 now. Last year.
I don't know.
I can't tell.
I don't know what day it is.
No. Last year we did a panto version of Treasure Island, which was quite cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was in that. I was Jenny, so she was like the love interest. Yeah.
Fabulous. What else?
We've done a lot of the classic ones like Snow White and Jack and the Beanstalk and all that kind of direction. And then we've also done some more out there ones, like we did a panto version of King Arthur once, which was a bit interesting. Wow. Yeah, we've done all sorts.
What do you think, doing panto, what kind of skills did that give you?
Not taking yourself too seriously, because if you try and act like a serious like Shakespeare actor in panto, you're never going to get anywhere with it, because that's not what you need to do.
I don't think you heard this earlier, so I don't think you were here, but I'm going to hark back to there's a grief that can't be spoken. Yeah, that's exactly right. Doing pantos, you kind of lose your inhibitions a little bit, and because it's such an art form that you know that if you broke character, or if you started laughing, or you know somebody on stage makes you laugh, or whatever, you know that's fine. So you break your inhibitions, and obviously if you're playing Christine in the Phantom of the Opera, you don't want to be laughing, but it's really, really helpful, and it's a really good lesson. It gives you confidence. There's another thing. You need that confidence. You need that confidence to go in to the audition and go, okay, you need to come across as being lovely, friendly. You're going to be a brilliant, cast member. You're right for the role, and you know that you can do it the way you want to do it, and if that's the way that they want, it's a really good confidence thing as well. So that's a really interesting thing to learn, and some more tips and stuff there. So going cool, okay, way forwards. I'm going to skip out all the little jobs that I did that were not so wonderful. No, I tell a lie. I loved every single job that I've done. Every single job that I've done. I remember when I was younger, a friend of mine had recommended me to a very, very small production company that were doing a panto version. It was like an Easter panto or something of The Jungle Book. And they needed a Mowgli tomorrow. Obviously not ethnically correct, but a friend of mine literally said, get Gary Jordan. He's free at the moment. They phoned me, they spoke to me on the phone, they saw my headshot, my CV. The next day I was on a train with a printout of the script, learning the script on the way, and I went on and played Mowgli that evening.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a couple of songs. Luckily, it was kind of well-known songs, it being a panto. One of them was Talk to the Animals, you know. I literally took the train up, I think it was to Nottingham, I think I went to. Took the train up to Nottingham, did a couple of hours rehearsals, and bang, on, done. But that production, I mean, first of all, they'd given me the role without even seeing me, which kind of rang some alarm bells. You know, it was just on a recommendation. The rest of the cast, I was in a little loincloth, didn't feel comfortable about that. The rest of the cast were basically dressed in car seat covers, and no shoes or anything. There was socks. It was a very, very, let's say, cheap production. But I loved it. I loved every second. I felt like a Disney hero. I was playing Mowgli in the Jungle Book, you know? I loved every single second. Looking back on it, yeah, I've played some better venues. I've played some worse venues, but I loved every single second. And I think another thing to think about is if you do find yourself in a situation where you're going into something that it's not quite where you want to go. It's not quite where you want to be. It's not quite the role that you want to be playing, but you've got to take it by the horns and find what you love about that. Because as I say, you never know who's watching, even if it's something that you're not that comfortable with. Gloria, you were saying about stepping out of your comfort zone. Even if it's a role that you're not that comfortable with, you need to get out there and do it, because there may be a skill within that, or there may be a spark in something else that you do that you think, oh, actually, that'd be quite nice to play. You know, playing the comedy Eugene in Greece, I suddenly realized that actually it's much more fun to make people laugh than it is to be the handsome hero kind of guy. I never thought my career would go into character acting and more comedy side of things, but that's the way it went, because I had almost tried to step out of my comfort zone and suddenly realized that was something I could do, and I could do that really well. And it became a skill that I actually based my career to date on. You know, there's no point me going up for Simba in The Lion King when there's such brilliant comedy characters to play. Going into that, I had my puppetry experience, another skill that I'd learned. I was doing a pantomime, playing Dandini again, played Dandini for several years in several different companies. And one of the ensemble boys, one of the dancer boys, turned around to me one day and he said, "You ever played Zasu in The Lion King?" I said, "No, never even seen it. To be honest, never. I've seen the film, obviously. I've seen the original animated feature, but I've not seen the stage show. It's never a character that I've identified with. It's never a character that I thought of." And I spoke to my agent and I said, "Okay, Lion King, let's go up for Zazu in The Lion King when it next comes up." You know, it was about 6 months later it came up, and I went into the first audition. They put this puppet in my hand, which was gigantic, heavy puppet thing. There's controls on the right hand, there's controls on the left hand, you have to pull the wings out, you have to, as well as standing behind the puppet and creating two different characters almost. So actually the person behind the puppet and the puppet itself, you've got to create two different performances, but you've got to make it look like one. So the people, you know, the audience who come and see the show just see the character as Zazu, and they don't see somebody in a costume standing behind the puppet. That was really hard, and a lot of the auditions were seeing how you fared with doing that, you know, and trying to get that out of you. The following week I was in again for a recall, more work with the puppet, going over some scenes. Following week I was in again, some more work with the puppet. All the people that were there were kind of getting less and less and less and less. And I got to 10 weeks. I did 10 weeks of recalls for The Lion King, once a week. I'm getting to the end of it and I thought, this could happen. This actually could happen. I could actually be playing a lead role in one of the biggest musicals in the world. This is insane. Like I couldn't quite fathom it. So 10 recalls later, and I'm up in the finals, and all the big Disney people were there. It felt like there was about 30 people on the panel watching me, you know. But I played the character like I thought it should be played, because I'd never seen the stage show, so I didn't have anything to base it upon. Surprise, surprise, twist to the story, I didn't get the job. okay, fine. On to the next, you know, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, start all over again. The following year, I said to my agent, Lion King, is that up? No, I don't think they need a Zasu, he's staying. Following year, no, don't think they need a Zasu, I think he's staying. Oh yeah. I think it was 3 years later that they finally saw me again. And luckily, they remembered me, and I had 3 auditions and got the role the next day. So once again, they'd seen me. They knew what I was capable of already. They'd liked me before, but for whatever reason, I hadn't got the role before. And here I am, I say 4 years later, but we kind of had a year out, didn't we, on that one. But when the show opens again, which, cross fingers, is very soon, I'm going to go back into it. So that's all good. Let's talk about
Gary.
Yes.
I just told Gloria this, and they told me to tell you.
What's that?
We actually met after one of your Lion King shows.
Did we?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
No, I was in London with a friend, and his mates work. I think one of them's a stage manager and one of them does follow spot for Lion King.
Oh wow!
And we went to see them after one of the shows, and you came and said hi.
Oh, was I nice?
It was, yeah.
Oh, that's really sweet. Did you enjoy the show?
I didn't actually get to see the show. We were in London for a different reason, but we went to see his mates, which was fun.
What was his mate's name? Can you remember?
I want to say Matt was one of the stage hands, and Beth, I think, was one of the follow spot people.
Yeah, Bethany Bales.
Yes.
Her name is, yeah. She's gorgeous girl. And Matt, would that have been a little short blonde guy?
No, he was quite tall. It might not have been Matt. That might have been one of their other friends.
Okay. God, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
What did I say?
You just said hi. I think you were coming back from a break.
Right. Okay.
So we were at the stage door.
Oh, well, hello again. It's nice to see you again. Neil, what do you reckon about putting up the little video of the little interview on?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah. Do you want to do that? You the bit that you're in?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just find that. I'll get that up.
Yeah, why not? So this shows you a little bit. There's something I did in lockdown. It was for Sky TV and London Theatre, kind of. You might well have seen it already, but they did for a lot of the musicals in London. They did these backstage interviews and Q&As and this, that, and the other. And hopefully Neil can show you a little bit. Okay. They sent me the puppet. They sent me the Zasu puppet, and I had it here in my room for quite a while, which is very odd. Very odd. It's like seeing an old friend, but not in the, you know, that's not me. That's somebody else. Yeah, go back. By the way, this is a terrible camera angle, I know.
Oh, sorry, forgot to share the sound. Here we go.
Here we go. This will show you a little bit more about what we do and what it takes.
Bits to him that I sort of feel that he's really good at his job in some areas and then dreadful in others.
Absolutely. I think anything to do with affairs of state, he's very good at. Mm-hmm. But anything else that comes with the job, he's not so great. As we know, he loses Simba, and they end up in the hyena's lair, and he has to run and get Mufasa because that's a part of the job. Really, he's not that great at. But,
well, he's just brilliant, isn't he? He's so funny. I think all of his one-liners are just perfect, and the interaction that you have with all of the different characters. I think he's one of the only characters that chats to pretty much everybody. Do you know, you chat to Scar, you're with Simba and Nala. Yeah, and I love all those gags that he's got, all of those little one-liners. I love the fact that I get to sing "Let It Go" on stage. That's hilarious.
I love the fact that he's just slightly shady every now and again with some of the words that he chooses.
Absolutely.
He's sort of, you know, like everybody kind of says mutters things under their breaths if they're not happy with the situation, but he doesn't mind just saying it. So I love that about him.
I mean, he looks brilliant. You know, the makeup is incredible. The makeup team are just absolutely brilliant. The fact that they're able to do all of that blending with the white and the blue, I could not do that.
What about the white and the blue? What does that represent?
Good question. So I asked the original makeup designer when he came, when we were setting up the tour, and he was saying that it's all about the clouds. So obviously Zasu, being a bird, spends a lot of time in the air, and so the white fading through into the dark blue is supposed to be the sky and the clouds. And so you're supposed to sort of see that, as Julie Taymor says, with the double event. You see the puppet, and then you see puppeteer being clouds and sky. So the puppet of Zasu is really, really complicated to operate, isn't it? I know I struggled during rehearsals. How did you get on?
I definitely struggled. I had 6 weeks rehearsal, and so much of that was trying to get as one with the puppet. You know, it's tricky to maneuver, and you want it to be as smooth and as kind of realistic looking as possible, I guess.
I don't know about you, but I sometimes, when I meet the audience after the show, sometimes they go, "Oh my gosh, it was amazing when the puppet did this, the puppet did that," and I didn't do any of those things, but their imagination has made them think that has happened, and that's great.
It's interesting though, because it is the most. I'd say it's probably the most traditional puppet in the show, because essentially it is a string puppet, really, isn't it? It's all controlled with strings. And
yeah, I think a lot of the other puppets have got that. They're sort of extensions of costume, aren't they? Like the giraffes, which are brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh no!
So I don't know what happened there.
There was a frozen screen of me looking very vacant, but you can hear us talking about it. It's The Lion King Behind the Curtains, if you want to have a look, because I actually do get the puppet and I show you a little bit how it's used and etc, etc, etc. Does anybody else have any other skills that you think might help you in this business, apart from singing, dancing, acting, maybe?
It's kind of a form of dance, but I used to do you know majorettes, like with the battens? I did that for 11 years when I was a bit younger.
Wow.
And I think like it's quite niche, might be useful at some point.
Niche. Have you ever seen Legally Blonde?
Yes,
musical?
Yeah.
It's quite heavily used in that. There you go. There's a little.
They use it in Crybaby too. You could play Alison.
Do they?
Don't know much about Crybaby. I have to look that up.
Really good.
I don't actually
past
know
recordings
much
on
about
Spotify.
Very useful. I'm gonna write
Who
that
wrote it? Do you know?
Oh, it's such a good question. I did know. I will find out and get back to you in like 2 minutes' time.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or want any advice or anything that I've not spoken about already that you're wondering?
Just curious. I always hear people talk about how playing instruments is so important and that it's so helpful. But as someone who plays 3 instruments and a few more instruments self-taught, I have never, I mean, obviously I see the point in reading music, and piano is always a good thing. But how is it helpful for me in musical theatre that I've played the harp for 11 years?
Okay, so taking you back to I'm going to have to take you back to my childhood to answer this one. When I was about 3 years old, my father was having piano lessons, and my mother still tells a story to all her friends that she was standing in the kitchen making a cup of tea, and she heard my dad playing the piano and went, "Oh, he's got better." And she walked out to say, "Oh, you're really improving." And it was me at 3 years old. I'd copied what he was playing. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. So for hours on end, again, I got a little bit obsessed with playing the piano. It was all about music to me. It was all, you know, and I'd sit there for hours and hours and hours on end. By the time I was 10 or 11, I was playing the complete scores of Les Mis and Phantom and this, that, and the other with both hands, completely taught myself. My parents, I guess, play by ear, I suppose is the phrase, isn't it? My parents saw an opportunity, sent me off to a piano teacher who, in my eyes, was very, very old-fashioned. And she would basically either play me, you know, a recording of the piece that I was going to be learning, or she'd play it through herself, and I'd just look at where her fingers were going, and I'd play it. So eventually my piano teacher said, I can't, she turned around to my parents and said, I can't teach him. I can't teach him because he's not actually learning. He's not learning to read music. He's not learning to sight read. He's not, you know, he can't be bothered with that, because what's the point of having to learn to sight read when I can just play it anyway? That was my thought. So going into musical theatre, there's a lot of actor-musician shows out there, and I know a lot of people who only do actor-musician show and have made an incredible career for themselves doing actor-musician musicals. You know, there was one of Sweeney Todd that was going around. There was Dreamboats and Petticoats was a you know, an actor-music kind of show. And I think if you do have skills like that, yes, it is going to be very, very helpful, but I've never been able to do that, because if I go to an audition for an actor-musician show and I played my own piece and, you know, sing at the same time, etc., they go, brilliant, play this. And they'll plonk the music in front of me and I'll go, because I can't sight read at all. Give me an hour and I can work it out, because I know where C is and I know where D is, and I know, you know, I know the very basics of it. And as I say, give me a while, give me 20 minutes and I could probably play you a piece exactly as it's written. But sight reading straight off, absolutely no way. So for that reason alone, I've never actually successfully booked an actor-musician show, even though I do play the keyboards and I play a little bit of guitar as well. And eventually I was kind of like, I need to take this off my CV, because this skill that I have is not really good enough. You know, my music theory is not good enough to get me through this. So that's a good example of trying another path. You know, there is this skill that I've got that's really useful, and it is really, really useful if you can sight read and you can do it then, there, and then. You know, there's a story of a very good friend of mine who, and this goes back to your personality within the audition as well. She was auditioning for Buddy, the musical. So it's all rock and roll stuff. It's an actor-musician show. She's an excellent piano player. She can sight read, you know, not fantastic. It's not, you know, plonk the piece of music and there she goes. She will sit there and work it out, but she's a lot quicker than I am at doing that. They said to her, okay, just give us a 12-bar blues, you know, rock and roll 12-bar blues, just so that it's not stunted what we're hearing. We want to see how it flows, you know, you playing. And she went, and this is her story, she went, okay, dunga 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 dunga, sorry. Dunga 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 dunga, oh no, I muffed it, sorry. Okay. Dunga 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 dunga. No, I've muffed it again. She sat there for about half an hour starting this 12-bar blues and not being able to finish it. They found this so funny. She got the job. She actually got the job. But she's excellent at sight reading. But freestyle, not so great. I'm great at the freestyle. I'm not so great at the sight reading, you know. So there's a good tip. If you want to go into an actor muso side of things, there's a brilliant career that you can do. But get that sight reading up to scratch so that any piece of music, whether you know it or not, you need to play it straight off the bat. Yeah. Done.
Yeah, I am more of a sight reader than freestyle.
Good.
My teacher was also very old-fashioned, and I was with the same piano teacher for 13 years, 14 years, and well, she did teach me with music, and then my brother is like you. He can literally hear any piece, and especially if it's like he doesn't play piano. He taught himself piano. He's quite good, but he is a percussionist, and when he played like marimba and xylophone and all that, which are in treble clef, he never learned it, and then he at some point started to learn the trombone, so now he can read bass clef, but no idea about treble clef, and he hears it, and that's how he hears it once, he can play it, and it's very impressive, and I don't know how people do it. So I don't
know how to. I have no answer for that. I just literally started to do it. I think it's, you know, you can be born with a very musical ear. I mean, Neil, I'm sure you were born with a very, very musical ear.
Developed over time.
I remember my parents saying that the midwife had turned around to my mother like when I was about 3 days old and saying, "Oh, that baby's musical. He's singing." And my mum went, "No, he's not. It's just like making gurgling sounds." And like the midwife's like, "No, listen." And she was like, "Oh yeah, literally singing the day I was born." Weird, isn't it? Any other questions coming up? How are we doing for time? We're doing all right, aren't we?
I had a question about doing like a master's course at a drama school. Like, how important do you think it is to have like a drama school name under you, and like?
Not necessarily. I think all drama schools, all university courses, all degrees and stuff will, by the end of your training, they'll put you in touch with the right people. All you need to do when you come out of drama school is to get yourself an agent, and all drama schools will, you know, or degree courses or university courses will put you in touch and tell you exactly how to do that. Yes, with some of the bigger drama schools, especially in musical theatre, a lot of the agents will go and see the sort of final productions, but hey, things are going online now. You know, you can do these productions, and I don't think auditions are going to necessarily be online when we come out of this pandemic, but how easy is it to do a showcase or or your own show reel or something like that, and get it round for people to see? And I think people in the last year have actually seen that, and probably will capitalize on that. But yeah, as far as it used to be way back into the day, even before my time, it used to be if you had an accredited drama school on your that was specifically for musical theatre, then yes, you know, but no way anymore. Absolutely no way.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Is there anything else?
I put the writers of Crybaby in the chat.
Yeah, go on.
If people wanted to know. So it was Mark O'Donnell and Thomas Meehan who wrote they wrote the script, and then the music was by David Javerbaum and Adam Schlesinger. So I'm gonna have to really butchered those names, but there we are.
I'm gonna have to look that up. It's based on a movie, isn't it?
It was based on a book, actually. Okay. So the movie is based on a book, and then the musical is kind of based on the movie and the book. Okay. So there are things in the movie that aren't in the stage show, and there are things in the stage show that aren't in the movie. I haven't read the book, so I can't vouch for that. But yeah.
Right. I'm going to have to listen out for that.
It's really good.
Question, Gary.
Yep.
So we've talked a lot about the kind of career-driven stuff. Maybe you could just touch on like the art side of it. So you're like all the skills that you have become really good at, your singing, your acting, your puppetry, and all those kind of things. What were there any like exercises or practical things you would do that have really helped you, first of all, get your art and your performance to the level it needs to be at, and then helped you sustain that level over the years? Anything that like tips or exercises or anything that you do that help you get there and then maintain.
You mean like vocal exercises, or
yeah, or anything? Because I mean, you know, yeah, vocal exercises, or like things that you bear in mind, or like maybe you could just describe a little bit of how you keep yourself in performance shape. I know when you're doing 8 shows a week, maybe you don't need to do that, but maybe then fatigue becomes a problem or stuff like that. So what things have you found really useful in your career at different stages, or maybe one thing springs to mind?
The main thing is sleep. We need sleep. And if you do not get that 8 hours of sleep, or however much you need, then it's really, really difficult. You know, playing Zasu, there is, for those that have seen the show, there's a lot of running around in the show. There's a lot of screaming, there's a lot of shouting, there's this, that, and the other. And the first thing that voice, whether you're acting, whether you're singing, whether you're dancing, the first thing that's going to deplete is due to lack of sleep. And I think that is probably the most important thing. Obviously, yes, healthy lifestyle, eating the right things, going for a run, etc., like that, which is obviously we have to do in lockdown because there's, you know, there's nothing else really to do around. But I've always believed that sleep is the main thing that you really
How do you deal with that? Because you're gigging until 10. Then you're full of adrenaline,
yeah, and then
you got to travel home, yeah, and then you might not have eaten. I don't know what you do, but then so you're not getting home till 11. You've got to meet all your fans every day after every show. So I'm guessing you don't get home until 11:30, midnight. How do you cope with that? Because that's how does that happen? How do you work that out with sleep?
Because in musical theatre, you don't normally, earliest you're going to start is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You're a night owl. You turn into a night owl. So you're basically so you can go to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you can wake up at 11 o'clock the next day and still have enough time. There's still that recuperation period, because it is like your days and nights are turned completely upside down. As you say, you don't finish work until, you know, you're going to work. If you've only got one show in the evening, you're going to work when other people are coming home. And that's when you're starting. So it's like a sort of reversal of your normal day, really. So I guess when lots of sleep.
When you're like the buzz after a good show, I'm sure, you know, I'm assuming that every show is a good show, but a buzz after a good show, does that, because I certainly find out, because I don't do as many evening gigs as I used to, like coming down from the buzz, like that's can be a tricky thing. Do you ever find that? Or do you have like a routine to help you get to sleep?
Fruit teas, chamomile teas, stuff like that. I always hated when people said to me, no telly before bed, don't eat after 8 o'clock, all that kind of stuff. But actually, it is really important, you know. It's to get home after a show when you are feeling a little bit buzzed, and you know, you think, oh, do you know what, I'm going to have a glass of wine and I'm going to watch another episode of Criminal Minds, you know, that kind of thing. It's probably the worst thing for you, because it will just keep you going, you know. However, you know, a lot of people, and I can't lie, myself included, you've had a really, really great show, nip to the pub with your friends, have a couple of beers and wind down that way. That always helps me. That's probably completely the wrong kind of advice to give to anybody. Go to the pub, but to actually talk, I think what I'm saying more is to actually talk through what's happened in the show that night. You know, you might be chatting to people who work backstage, who've got a different, you know, stories of what's happened that night, but to actually talk about it with somebody, talk about how you felt, talk about why you're feeling buzzed, you know, why you said that line in that way, or this, that, and the other, and you can get it out of your system. Does that make sense? Get that show that you're really buzzing about, you can get that out of your system.
It's like you've got, it's like there's a physical imprint on your system of the show you've just done. And if you hold that inside and think, oh, I must go to sleep, then your body's going to hold on to it in like a very real sense, and you're like finding a way to get that out, whether that is through, you know, having a hot bath or a shower or going to the pub or walking home rather than getting the tube or whatever it is. Yeah, I can
absolutely.
imagine how that's really important.
It's very much the same. If you've got an exam the next day, or if you've got something important on the next day, or if you know you have to be up at 7 o'clock because you've got this certain thing to do, you're less likely to sleep because your mind goes into overdrive. That's exactly right. It's the same with anything, really, isn't it? Yeah.
So we've come to 2:30. Any final questions? I mean, Gary has said that you can, you know, you can contact you. You do the social medias and stuff like that.
At Gaz Jordan UK on Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah. So if you have questions, do you as well? You sometimes do kind of one-to-one sessions, don't you, Gary?
I do. Yeah.
So
you know, mainly working on vocal technique, working on acting through song, which is my big thing. But if anybody wants to, then just obviously let Neil know or let me know, and we can definitely sort that out. I'm going to try and find some better lighting though for next time, because you can't actually see me much, really, can you?
Yeah, we've talked about that with a few people actually this week about lighting for when you're streaming.
I do have a ring light, but unless I put it there, you just can't see anything.
Yeah. Gary, thank you so much for this session.
Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Even not as a music theatre specialist myself, I've been really interested and engaged in what you're talking about. So thanks everyone for coming along.
Thank you guys.
Our Music Centre Instagram, which is Music Centre UOW, has got Gary's details on it, so you can find us there and you can like share and like or whatever, and we will repost your stuff. So ladies and gentlemen, Gary. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Gloria and Becky, it was nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
And when we open up, come and see the show, and come to Stage Door after. And as Neil said,
definitely order.
If you need anything, even if you've got any more questions that you think of, just let Neil know, and he'll contact me. And
yeah, please do. And Vicky has just reminded me that we're trying to capture people's like reactions to the workshops, and I've kind of been explaining that we need to justify why we're spending a huge amount of cash on people like amazing people like Gary coming to these sessions. So in a very real sense, if you're able to click on the link and just say, we had a lovely time, or your feedback take you to 2 minutes, that would be really helpful to us. So when we get asked, we can say, wow, look at these responses. Because that was really, really great session today. So if you could do that for us, that'd be wonderful. Just click on the link. Gary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
All right then.
Yeah, have a good time, everyone. Good to see you.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.